Hi, this is Bonnie Matson, and I am here today with Margaret Baker, who just so happens to be my aunt, and I lovingly call her Aunt. So, hi, Aunt. How are you?
Hi, Bonnie.
So, I'm actually really looking forward to what we're going to talk about today. So, do you want to give we kind of talked about this ahead of time, just what we were going to talk about today. Do you want to give everybody kind of an introduction to what you want to talk about?
Well, we're going to talk about one of my favorite hobbies, which is genealogy. So, welcome to the wonderful world of genealogy. But it should come with a warning label. Genealogy can be addictive.
And I can attest that over the years I've known you.
Yes.
So, why don't you tell everybody how you got started in it?
Okay. Well, the seed of my hobby was planted when I was in high school in two events. For a biology class assignment, I needed to do a family tree trace in eye color. It was about, of course, genetics.
Okay.
And when I asked my Aunt Maxine, and there she is there.
There's Aunt.
You know, for family information. She showed me a letter from her Aunt Dora, who is my grand aunt, and that's Dora there.
Dora.
Where she had written down what she knew of our Ball and Obert families. And this is when I first learned we had Quaker and German ancestry on the Baker side, and this is a little sample of some of what Dora had written down and how she had done it.
Very cool.
Okay. Now, the second event was in 1966 when a manila envelope addressed to my dad arrived, and it came from a woman we never heard of. And it contained multiple pages of our Bierce ancestry, which was all news to us.
Oh, wow.
The lady, Peggy Howard, we learned was my father's second cousin, and she had graciously shared her research with us. And she did all this research in the pre-computer days.
Really?
Now, my parents...
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, my parents and I found all this family history interesting, but didn't know what to do with it, so it was filed away.
Okay.
And it wasn't until decades later when I had a personal computer and the first genealogy websites appeared that I pulled out Aunt Dora's and Peggy's documents, and that genealogy seed sprouted and took off. Now, you remember I said genealogy can be addictive?
Yes.
Let's see. My tree now has over 33,000 names and records.
Wow. And all those 3,000 people are related to us in one way or another.
See, I don't just trace my direct genetic ancestry. I also do what are called collateral lines. That's like the descendants of aunts and uncles, great aunts and uncles, back and back. So
it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Right. And also the ancestries of the spouses of you and your brothers.
So that takes it going off in all kinds of directions too.
And part of the reason I do that is that sometimes family history traveled down one line and not another, so sometimes you learn something you weren't expecting.
Okay. All right. Well, just out of curiosity, how far back have you managed to go into our family?
Okay. Now, on my mother's side, let me do a little click here. It's not very far.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and let me here. Let's go here. And these are my parents, Mary Goyich.
Yep. Young grandma and grandpa.
Harold Earl Baker.
Yep.
On my mom's side, I'm only second generation.
Okay.
My maternal grandparents were ethnic Serbians who were born in what is now Croatia.
Okay.
And I only know the names of my grandmother's parents thanks to the birth certificate she requested when she applied for Social Security. And let me get a little bit bigger there. There you can see her father and her mother.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And now follow this, a granddaughter of my grandfather's brother, which shared a copy of his birth certificate. Oh, got to go back down here to get this. And give a little bit of which gave me the names of their parents,
Oh,
Yulia
okay.
Gurbich and Stoya Gurbich.
Okay.
So that's basically, there's some other relatives, but we won't go into that.
Okay.
Now on my father's side, we go back into colonial America.
Oh, and so this is the side of the family that seems to go on and on.
Right now. So a couple of the ones where I have some idea when they arrived was Thomas Canfield, who was born about 1683 in England. In fact, all of these people were born in England.
Okay.
He arrived in Connecticut in 1634. Augustine Bierce, born about 1618, arrived Cape Cod, Massachusetts in 1638. John Ball was born in 1684 and was in Philadelphia by 1710.
Okay.
And Humphrey Baker, born in 1713 in England, arrived in Maryland as an indentured servant in, let's see, I believe this. Got to get this down here. In 1730.
Wow.
And that's a copy of his indentured servant contract.
Look at that. Wow.
The 29th day of December, 1729.
Jeez.
Yeah. There are also the Tucker, Nicholas, and Kinnaman family lines that I have traced back to the early 1800s and late 1700s. Okay.
Geez. So I'm not great with my history and dates and times, but that's Revolutionary War time.
Yeah, these ancestors came well before that, and yes, we do have some Revolutionary War veterans. We
do. Okay.
Four
of them.
Eamon Canfield. Josiah Bierce III.
Okay.
John H. Tucker and Robert Baker.
Well, there you go.
And that means you and your siblings and children could apply for membership in the Daughters of the American Revolution or Sons of the American Revolution, depending on gender.
Really?
Yep.
Fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yes, you could.
I should look into that sometime.
Right?
So, out of curiosity, in doing all this, have you come across any interesting surprises in the family?
Well, when I was researching the ancestry of your sister-in-law, Shelley, I found that she is also our distant cousin on her mother's side.
Seriously.
Her mother and I are sixth cousins, and that is through our Tucker family lines.
Well, that explains a lot. We like to keep things in the family.
Right, yes.
So, okay, well, that is an interesting surprise. Now, have you found anything else?
Well, in genealogy, one of the favorite stories passed down in families is that they are descended from an Indian princess.
Oh, so do we have Indian princesses in our family history?
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. In 1935, a descendant of my great-great-granduncle William Bierce wrote a family history.
Okay.
Now, I've never done a precise count because there's a lot in there, but a quick skim of his account indicates we are supposed to be descended from at least 8 or 9 Indian princesses.
Whoa. I'm guessing, is there any truth to that?
No.
No. Why am I not surprised?
Right. Some Bierce family trees have accepted Franklin Bierce's account, just without questioning, but I always took it with a big grain of salt. Plus, 2 different genealogy DNA tests have shown not an iota of Native American ancestry.
No Native American history there, huh?
No. But even though a family story may be proved mostly false, there can be within it a few grains of truth.
Okay. Oh.
According to Franklin, my second great-grandfather, Frederick Canfield Bierce, was kidnapped as a child. And
Seriously?
I'm going to show you a little snippet of what he wrote.
Okay.
Then he's referring to Frederick's mother. Her oldest son was aboard a British whaler at the time, where he lived for 3 years after he swam the icy waters of Hudson Bay and escaped his northern Canadian Indian captors. His captors treated him kindly as only a boy and also an Indian, which we now know isn't. He was kidnapped by a Mohican half-blood as an act of vengeance against Gideon Noble Bierce, who was his father, and it was through him, I think he was referring to a fight, and cut the tendon in his right wrist in a quarrel over Margaret Ann Rowe, who was Frederick's mother.
Okay, wow.
Now, I also took this as a myth, especially the escape of Indian
Sounds
captors
pretty
and swimming
dramatic.
in icy waters and all that.
Yeah.
But then one day, I came across, and let me see here. This is a little notice in an 1828 Connecticut newspaper. And in it, you hear that on the 18th of July last, was a lad by the name of Frederick C. Bierce.
Okay.
Was lawfully taken from the employ of Mr. George Graham of Roxbury, Litchfield County, and carried to parts unknown. His father had been looking for him, hadn't been able to find him, so they were soliciting the public for any information about his whereabouts. And they said the lad was about 10 years of age, full middling size, and when taken away had on a straw hat, a brown frock, and striped factory pantaloons. And here's the interesting part. It is supposed he was taken by an Indian mulatto, in other words, a mixed race, man, commonly called by the name of Isaac Freeman, who has one hand disabled in consequence of the government.
That is true. Oh my gosh.
So
that's wild.
So the story wasn't about his kidnapping was not a total myth. I was really surprised when I came.
Yeah, I bet. That's pretty amazing.
Now, let me go flip now to. Now, Isaac was the kidnapper was eventually apprehended later that year, but Frederick wasn't with him. And he said he had engaged him in employment with another man, and that's kind of down here. Information may be given to George Graham, Roxbury, Litchfield County, Connecticut, or to Gideon, his father. Don't tell me it's not going to show. But anyhow, okay, any information respecting the boy left with Isaac Toucey, Esquire of this city, will be gratefully received. Now, this was the last newspaper article I found. So I don't know exactly when and where Frederick was found, though obviously he was.
Okay, yeah.
But I noted that the kidnapper was found in Norwich, which was a port town in Connecticut. Okay. So I asked myself, did he sign Frederick up on the crew of his ship? Doubt we'll ever be able to know.
Kind of lost track from there, but still, just that you were able to actually find all that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's why you end up signed up to various different genealogy sites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds almost like a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah. Well, a short one.
That's still pretty cool, though. It's a great story to have in our history. So, winding up, what I kind of can tell what keeps you and keep going in your genealogy search.
Well, basically, it's the challenge of solving a mystery. If you like mysteries, there's more than enough.
Yeah.
So determining when and where an ancestor was born or died, discovering the maiden name of a female ancestor, which can be really challenging, or pushing a family branch back one more generation, or learning some personal detail about an ancestor's life, as we've just seen. Each discovery can give you a great sense of satisfaction.
That is awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you Aunt, for sharing with us your hobby with genealogy, and it was so great to learn so much about our family, and it was great getting to talk. Thanks, Aunt.
You're most welcome.
Love you.